But moving down the Riot train here, Riot announced that its LCS Spring Finals or the Spring Split will be on ESPN. They just aired today, 100 Thieves versus TSM today, which is April 8th, and they're airing the rest of the Spring Split not just on the app but on ESPN2, so live on Direct TV, which makes ESPN the official broadcaster of the Spring Split. And this is just kind of like the next step for ESPN over this kind of quarantine coronavirus period. They've been airing video games and esports like Apex Legends, NBA 2K, Rocket League, but this is kind of airing like one big league very publicly, and it's a big deal, especially because Riot has been pretty Twitch exclusive prior. So I'll open the floor there. But I guess the prodding question for me is this move substantial and will more come from it? Ian, do you want to take it first this time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I think this is definitely significant. If I was reading the notes right, I believe we have five televised League of Legends events right on ESPN2, which is still, I mean, a widely available channel. I think this only can be good for League of Legends. I'm just really wondering how networks are going to feel about keeping these resources around once sports are back in full swing. One thing I've been thinking about is there's kind of this like tottering idea that coronavirus could come back. So I wonder if networks will think, what if another sweep of this happens, world goes on shutdown again, and we need esports. I don't think they'd want to sever those ties. That's obviously worst case scenario, but I think big companies think in worst case scenarios. So I think they will keep this around because I think this has kind of put them in a situation where they realize they need a backup if everything drops from their network.
And I think that it also rides on the tails that as unfortunate as this public health crisis is, it's been absolutely massive for gaming. Not only sales with games like Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal,
Yeah.
but esports specifically. And seeing Valorant have the hype on Twitch, and now Riot is taking its LCS league, which again I would say is one of the premier esports leagues out there right now in terms of how it's managed and broadcasted, and taking it to main TV. I think it's significant alongside all the other games that ESPN is showing. But to have ESPN be the sole provider of the spring split is very much substantial. I think it really is a testament to what role will esports play in public viewing. I mean, I predict that if this goes well, if people are tuning into events like this, it could take the place when there's no sports on TV. I mean, when you're picturing things late in the morning or early in the morning, I would say, maybe between large games or events. I mean, hosting events like that would really drive viewership that historically has only been online. Marshall, do you have something to say on that?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned this before, but League of Legends, ESPN a day or two ago played last year's Rocket League finals, also on ESPN2, and ESPN has been posturing for a while to do things like this, like with their ESPN Esports Twitter and their website, and the team that does that, like Jacob Wolf and people. It's League of Legends worries me being on ESPN, because if I'm new to esports and I turn on League of Legends and I'm in the middle of a team fight, that is so disorienting. It's a lot of things happening at once. So is this good for esports? Yes, because the people who control the media networks are acknowledging it. Is this good for casual viewership? Maybe not.
I could see
with
it being,
with a huge question mark at the end there.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I want this to be good, but it's also like, I know I was new to League at one point, and I looked at it and I went, what the hell is going on?
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of people are going to do that, and they're going to switch the channel and go, wow, esports is stupid.
And I've been following the LCS since like season 2 or 3, so since its infancy, and I am excited to see how the casters will maybe change the broadcast to be more entry level oriented, because while this is a huge step for esports legitimacy overall, I mean, games like Rocket League, NBA 2K that they've aired previously are really easy to spectate and follow around. I mean, you're playing car soccer, you're
Mm-hmm.
playing basketball, you're playing football if you're watching any of the Madden games. But League of Legends is its own realm, right? So being able to have broadcasters and broadcast teams break that down, I think will take what is a complex game in League of Legends, which has a high skill cap, and make it accessible for all kinds of viewers. And I think if they do that, they've struck gold.
And I think what you have to look at is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it could be upwards of 5 years ago. I can't remember at this point, but TBS had an exclusive deal with Counter-Strike. Yeah. And they aired a Counter-Strike League on TBS and got massive amounts of viewership. And watching that as a Counter-Strike fan was really tough because the casters, were always saying like, you guys know the classic AWP, right? Yeah. Everybody knows it, but they don't call it the AWP anymore. They're very explicit. It's the AWP, and then they'd refer to it as the big green gun, right? So, but that's how new viewers are associating everything, right? So, while that was like painful for old viewers, it was awesome for new viewers, and I could understand that, and they had lots of many like tutorial-esque things to help people understand what was going on in the game. So hopefully the people at Riot and ESPN can take a page out of Valve and TBS's book and hopefully present it well to their viewers.
And then Ian, you want to wrap this up? I feel like you probably have at least one other thing to share.
Oh, yep, that's a great guess, Nick. I do. I think this will actually be a great time. League of Legends is just so big. When I look at my own friends list on League of Legends, the span and diversity of types of human beings I have on my own friends list from every walk of life is pretty impressive. And I think that at this point in 2020, there is more cross viewership between ESPN and League of Legends tournaments than society might expect. I think 20, 30 something, still everyone in America watches football. Every type of person. I think there are going to be people that are celebrating that League of Legends is on ESPN. I think they will go to that network and they will watch it and make a point like, look how cool it is that the game I play is on the network where I usually am watching all of my sports teams. I think that this still, I am adhering to the caution that Marshall is talking about with, it's going to be weird for the most casual of ESPN viewer to walk into a League of Legends game. But I think ESPN will be happy with the numbers that they get. So I'm interested to see how this all works out.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing I will share before we move on is this kind of makes Twitch look at Riot, a little questionable too. Now that there are other streaming platforms in the game that have some interest in, professional esports. I personally think that where Mixer kind of fell apart is that it focused on personalities rather than esports as well. They figured that if we can grab big names like Ninja and stuff like that, we'd be able to stay afloat. But when people are watching, games every weekend, the LCS goes on for several hours every Saturday, Sunday, they're going to want to come back to the same place. And if other streaming platforms can secure opportunities like that, and then, maybe talent follows, I think that could be a better entryway than securing, a Ninja from Mixer.